Tonight, we are a step closer to restoring decency, dignity, and honor to the White House. That's our ultimate goal.
Yes.
You know, my dad had an expression. He used to say, you know your success as a parent when you turn and look at your child and realize they turned out better than you. You know, my dad had an expression. He used to say, you know your success as a parent when you turn and look at your child and realize they turned out better than you.
Day that we got access to this 1023 form showing bribery between Joe Biden and Hunter Biden in Ukraine, they indict Donald Trump again. Every time the Oversight Committee has evidence of corruption, bribery, money laundering on the Biden family, they indict Donald Trump. And whether you agree with Donald Trump politically or not, most of America sees this for what it is weaponizing the executive branch to take out your political enemies. And look, Joe Biden wants to give Donald Trump a death sentence for documents. And yet Hillary Clinton's standing free today. She's bragging about the two-tier system of justice, raising money off of it, but her emails. Joe Biden has classified documents. He mishandled them as vice president. All these people are held to a different standard except for Donald Trump.
They knew that he was a liar. Mm-hmm. They knew that he made things up. He would just talk about anything.
Christmas 1972. The wife of newly elected Senator Joe Biden and their baby daughter were killed.
He's, of course, taken that story and twisted it around to talk about how the driver of the truck was somehow drunk, which is completely false.
The Delaware Judge Jerome Herlihy, who investigated the crash, tells CBS News there was no indication that the truck driver had been drinking. Biden himself has made public references to alcohol being involved in the crash. Son was never charged. Biden said the truck driver, quote, allegedly drank his lunch.
The accident was caused by when she pulled out in front of a truck driver.
For the first time in my life, I understood how someone could consciously decide to commit suicide.
That sort of callous, heartless willingness to exploit even your family.
Mm-hmm. Close in on the Biden family, according to a bombshell claim from Senator Chuck Grassley, the Burisma executive who allegedly paid Joe and Hunter Biden millions of dollars, has 17 audio recordings in his possession. These are conversations between the two of them, which he's termed an insurance policy. Well, as reported last week, President Biden was allegedly paid $5 million as part of a supposed bribery scheme between Biden during his days as vice president. Now, this is a foreign national which involved influence over U.S. policy decisions. Stay tuned for Newsmax. More on this developing story for sure.
We went to Pennsylvania to find out what voters in the state that helped deliver Biden the presidency think about him now. You voted for Biden.
I did.
He announced this week. What was your reaction?
Regret, disappointment, frustration.
That disappointment and frustration was expressed again and again by young voters we talked to.
I would say that he's way too old and very unfit to be president.
What do you like about Joe Biden?
What do you think they should not be doing?
I think that the President of the United States shouldn't be saying Facebook is killing people, because that's nonsense on toast. I think that the Surgeon General of the United States shouldn't be out there calling for a whole of society, not even whole of government, a whole of society crackdown on misinformation, which he then fails to define. I think that Jen Psaki, as White House press secretary, shouldn't be telling Spotify that you got to do more about Joe Rogan here. That's crazy. 20 years ago, after 9/11, we all remember this, right? When Ari Fleischer came on, he took so much heat from CNN, from a lot of people here probably, from me definitely, when he said that in the wake of 9/11, Americans need to watch what they say. That's all he said. There wasn't anything, backed up. There wasn't regulation. Americans that he was talking about didn't have business in front of the government, the federal government. He said that he took a ton of heat because we understood we don't want the government to be telling us that. Now we have the government telling social media companies, you need to kick Alex Berenson off Twitter. That's bad. They're using national security to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story, which wasn't a national security story. That's bad. So the outrage for me is not this ruling. It's weird. It's 45 pages. The outrage is in the government's behavior, especially in the year 2021.
This was stunning yesterday. I know talking to Biden administration officials, they were very surprised, particularly by the scale of the ruling and what it actually means. What more do we know?
It essentially is banning key government agencies, including the Department of Health and Human Services, the FBI, the Justice Department, the CDC, and about 12 key administration officials, including the White House press secretary and the U.S. Surgeon General, from communicating with social media companies, which include Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Google, Instagram, over concerns that this judge has about the communications that they've had related to the pandemic. Now, this goes back to a 2022 lawsuit that was filed by two state attorneys generals from Missouri and from Louisiana, who say that the Biden administration overstepped in their communication to these social media companies, specifically around key issues like election integrity, vaccine misinformation, and security of voting by mail. Now, this judge is essentially saying that there is enough evidence to say that there is concern about the communications. The White House, on the other hand, saying that they believe that they acted in the best interest of the country. They believe that it is the responsibility of these social media companies to police their own content online. But ultimately, the social media companies need to make their own independent decisions about that content. Now,
There have been many developments in the House investigations into the First Family's international business dealings recently. There's one committee trying to get an FBI file alleging that President Biden took bribes. There's another IRS whistleblower who's alleging there's a cover-up in the investigation. Amid all of this, there was a Harvard-Harris poll this month that found that 53% of the public, including a fourth of Democrats, believe, quote, Joe Biden was involved with his son in an illegal influence peddling scheme. There's, of course, evidence that the president interacted with his relatives, associates from China, Mexico, Kazakhstan, Russia, and Ukraine. So what do you say to the majority of Americans who believe that the president is himself corrupt?
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Why are you running?
Kelly, the big change is where this was found. And it was found, by my observation, in a much more secure place, limited access place than that West Wing reception area. It's still a frequently trafficked place, but it's down near the Situation Room, right off West Executive, down below. And normal people, average people just can't get in there, even with the entry from the Northwest Gate.
Well, let me bring you up to date with the reporting that I have. What we have learned is that there are, in fact, two West Wing entrances. You know that, I know that, but for the benefit of our audience. And now the investigation has progressed, and so they're saying the West Executive entrance, which, as you noted, is closer to the Situation Room and closer to the Navy mess, where there's the facilities for food and so forth. It is also next to West Executive Drive. That's where, for example, the vice president's vehicle is parked.
Okay, let me know if I missed a step. Hillary Clinton paid Perkins Coie, who played Fusion GPS, who paid Christopher Steele, who paid some phony Russians to obtain a phony dossier that the FBI then used to ruin an entire presidency and overturn a presidential election. But if we questioned it, we were the ones called Russian bots. Then the election rolls around and the Hunter Biden laptop story breaks, and that same freaking phony FBI calls it Russia disinformation when it turns out to be true. But if we questioned it or talked about it, they had already coordinated with social media companies to silence us again. And once again, we were called Russian bots. And then actual election night rolls around and pipes burst and millions of votes just come in the middle of the night for Biden. But if we questioned it, we lost our social media accounts. And now today it comes out that in the Durham report that the original hoax, the entire upper echelons of government knew. Obama knew, Joe Biden knew. But once again, if we say anything, we're called Russian bots. Oh, and absolutely nothing's going to happen. And also today, the Biden DOJ removed the entire investigative team at the IRS from the Hunter Biden laptop case. We're living in a clown world. Nobody is going to be held accountable.
This is the world we live in now. Check this out. Federal judge rules Biden administration acted like Orwellian Ministry of Truth using big tech to censor Americans. The evidence produced thus far depicts an almost dystopian scenario. A federal judge ruled Tuesday that the Biden administration acted like an Orwellian ministry of truth by working in conjunction with big tech platforms. So how did the Biden administration react? Like this. The Biden administration appeals federal court ruling that shut down its censorship operation. They're appealing the fact that they can't censor us and shut us down. They want full fucking control of what comes out of your mouth and my mouth and anybody else that wants to speak the truth. I guess they really do want to fuck around and find out.
I don't care what else is going on the planet. I don't care if there are aliens landing. I don't care if there's a war. I don't care if there's a new disease. I don't give two shits. What I care about is the most important thing happening in this country right now, and that is that a federal judge has told the federal government they can't censor us, and the federal government, in particular, the Biden administration, is appealing that. They, as the government, believe that they have the right to silence your voices because they don't agree with what you're saying. Or with what you're saying, well, it'll get them in trouble, expose their lies and their corruption. No, they can't have that. That's the most dangerous thing that's happening in this country. Not 8-foot things out in Nevada, not the wildfires of Canada. Your government is going to court for the right to censor you. Wake the fuck up.
If you told me to do an impression of Biden, I go, I don't know what he sounds like. But then when you hear someone do it, you go, that's it.
Yeah, there's young people online that do some amazing. But Biden was just, kind of initially as my father lost his job.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. No joke. No joke. No one thinks it's a joke. Not
Yeah.
kidding around here. Come on, like the founding fathers is proclaimed in the Declaration of Independence. The people, all men are created equally. Excuse me, created pirates of the Caribbean.
Elise Stefanik, she said that the FBI's inaction on the Hunter Biden laptop and the FBI's meddling with Twitter, which we now all know about because of the hearings the other day, with the suppression of the New York Post's story about the Hunter Biden laptop, had a direct and measurable effect on the 2020 election. And Elise Stefanik brought the proof.
According to polling, of the people that were made aware of the Hunter Biden laptop story, 53% would have changed their vote, including 61% of Democrats. This is the definition of election meddling, and it's the definition of election meddling by the FBI on behalf of Democrats, paid for by the U.S. taxpayers. It's collusion, it's corruption, and it's unconstitutional.
It'd be funny if it weren't so serious that Joe Biden got caught doing exactly the same thing that he attacked Donald Trump for, even though it's likely in many ways what Joe Biden and the Biden Center have been caught doing is even worse than what they've accused President Trump of. Don't forget, by the way, that the Biden Center was funded by, I think, $60 million from the Chinese Communist Party, and they had all of these classified documents about national security related issues, Ukraine, a lot of other issues at the Biden Center. We still don't know what the documents at Mar-a-Lago were, but we do know that these were serious documents. And never forget, by the way, President of the United States has the power to declassify classified documents, not the Vice President. So it's likely that President Biden did break the law and in a very serious nature, and we should investigate it.
I said, no, I'm not going to, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
Over these last 18 months, Democrats have delivered.
Let me rephrase that. Over these last 18 months, Democrats have delivered big time.
Don't laugh. That was the highlight. That was the high point of the speech. And boy, haven't the Democrats delivered big time. Biggest gas prices, big inflation, more than 2 million illegal immigrants crossing the southern border. That's big. And don't forget the dramatic increase in violent crime in Democrat-run cities.
How about that? How about that?